Yvette, Clark, I appreciate your time this morning. Usually I congratulate people for their films, but I want to thank you for Encanto. I'm very excited. I always believe that Latin representation is missing a little bit, but I think with Encanto, you guys do it with what I've seen so far. You've done such a beautiful job at bringing that Colombian culture to life.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
So I want to talk about that specifically. Colombia for a long time has really been portrayed as such in such a negative light, and we've seen singers and we've seen other people, Colombian people from that area, come out and really showcase the highlight the beautiful culture, the amazing food, and the music that comes from that area. Can What can we expect from Encanto?
Well, I think I first of all I agree with you. I'm one of my drivers and is even working in this industry is to make sure that we have more representation of Latinos on screen. And so when we started working on Encanto, and really we started focusing in on Colombia, we wanted to make sure that we were able to showcase the beauty of the country. And, I know growing up here in the United States, the representation I saw of people who looked like me on TV was never anything that was in the forefront. It was always, the maids or the gardeners or the gang, and they were all different depictions, which didn't really reflect the life that I lived and my family. And so when it came, we talked a lot about representation very early on. And again, when the directors went down to Colombia, they saw the beauty of the country, the diversity within the people, within the different regions that they have, and really were so inspired by the country. They came back really wanting to showcase, oh, can we show this and can we show this, and really wanted to highlight all of the great things they found about Colombia.
Yeah, I would just add on to that and say, look, at the end of the day, there's so many things you want to put into one movie. You have 90 minutes, so you have to pick your places that you're going to put it. But I think what the film does a great job in balancing and being so inspired by Colombia is exactly what you said. It's going to be the geography, it's going to be the people, it's going to be clearly the music throughout the film. It's the story. I think people are going to see in every frame, hopefully, elements that that they will feel have become or are inspired by Colombia and their research trip down to Colombia and all the work that the Cultural Trust did in terms of infusing it within the film, the clothing, all aspects.
Yeah, despite being from different regions, I'm Mexican Salvadorian. We all have similarities, of course. I think one of the things that popped out immediately was the Singer sewing machine that my mom also had, and just little things like that, little details that I really appreciated. But one thing that's huge in our culture, I mean, in any culture, but I think being a Latino, we highlight it so much, is family. And I think that's a huge theme, obviously, in this film. Can we talk about the theme of family?
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Like, family is important in many cultures, but in the Latin culture, it is the multi-generational family. It is so common to have to live under the same roof or very very close to your cousins or your aunts and uncles and your abuela, and how they are actually intertwined in the day-to-day of your life. And as opposed to other people who have experience with family, oh yeah, I see my cousin every once in a while. Many times in Latino culture, everyone is kind of all in everyone's business. And so we wanted to make sure that, when we represented that and showed that. And it's not always easy. It's not always, it's not always the most beautiful thing, because it's difficult, because you have many different people who have many different personalities. But the one thing that unites us all is family. And we wanted to make sure that that came through.
And I think, what's interesting is from the beginning, as Yvette said, that was what the story was going to be. It was going to be family in 3 generations. Doing that in an animated film is incredibly complex, because you have to build that many more characters. And I think the other day, even Byron, Jared, and Sharice talked about it from a story standpoint. You have to track all those characters too. You want the audience to feel like they know this entire family, not just Mirabel and a couple of her siblings or cousins. You need to know everybody. So to do that in a 90-minute film is not easy. And I think that was one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle as we were making the movie, where we're always trying to find that balance. And hopefully we got, and I think we did, to the right spot on it, but that was never easy. But we committed to it from the beginning, because it would have been very easy along the way to say, well, what if we just lost a family member or two? That would make it easier, but we didn't want to do that. This was going to be a 14-person family that lived in this house. Well, 13 live in the house, and one we know is, Abuelo Pedro is not in the house, but 13 people are living in this house. We need to track all 13, and we never gave up on that, which I think was key.
Well, you guys did a really good job with that musical number to introduce everyone. That was a lot of fun. How extensive has the research been, and for how long has Disney been working on bringing Encanto to life?
Well, Byron and Jared really have been working on this for about 5 years. Clark and I came on probably about 3 years, a little over 3 years ago. But Byron and Jared, and when directors in our studio, when they start, kind of wanting to tell a story or working on an idea, the first thing they do is go into research. Research is one of like a cornerstone here at Disney Animation, and to make sure that we're able to build these worlds that people are able to immerse themselves in. And so research is such a heavy part. And as they started narrowing in, they knew they wanted to tell a story in Latin America, somewhere in Latin America. And then when they started narrowing in on Colombia, the research got more and more focused. And so research has been a big part from the very, very beginning. And as we start going into the film and we bring more people on, the research continues. We share all the research we've done so far, and then we have, we'll bring on different experts, and we start building that Colombian cultural trust that we talk about, and they are along the process all along the way. So it's important that the research and what's learned doesn't just sit with the directors or whoever's on early on. We work very hard to make sure we share all of that all the way through, so anyone coming on the film kind of has access to that information.
I think what it's I've worked on a couple of films with you guys as far as covering with Raya and with Moana and things like that, and I think that part of it, that research part, although extensive, is probably a lot of hard work. Seems like so much fun to be able to learn so much about different cultures and then be able to present it in such a fun, lovable way. Which actually brings me to Maribel. Clark, we've seen Moana. We've seen a variety of different characters. What is it about her that kids and adults are going to fall in love with?
Well, what I love about her is she's not perfect, right? She's a bit of a flawed character. She's somebody who's a little insecure. She's somebody who is trying to figure out who she is in this family and why she didn't get a gift. And I'll tell you, from the very beginning, when they pitched this story about a family where everyone was going to have a magical gift but one, I was in, because I now want to root for that person. I want to understand, why didn't that happen? And so I think people are going to fall in love with her because she's a little bit of all of us in her, right? That she's not the perfect child. She's not. She has those insecurities that we all have at moments in time, and she's trying to figure out why everybody got these things and she didn't. And I think we always are comparing ourselves to other people, and she's in this journey. And you didn't get to see the end of the film. We're going to learn why, and I think it's going to be inspirational for kids out there to say, okay, it's okay to be who I am. That's what's important, is to be who I am.
It's a great answer. Yeah, anything to add to that, Yvette?
Yeah, no, I would just add, it's for me, it's who she is, all of that, what Clark said, and try to find out and find her place and where she is, and her beautiful curly hair and her glasses and everything that makes her unique, that sometimes people may feel like, oh, I wish I had this, or I wish I didn't have this, or whatever, but it's all of that. And I love how she just embraces that and just moves forward with it.
And one of the things I don't think we've necessarily talked about, or maybe someone in another part has talked to you about it, but is Mirabel's skirt, right? She made the skirt herself. If you look at that embroidery, it can from afar look like, oh, that might be this perfect skirt. But when you look at it up close, it's totally imperfect. It is completely who Mirabel is. It's a kid who went onto a sewing machine and said, I'm going to sew what I'm feeling, as opposed to I'm going to do something that feels like it's designed. And I love that aspect of her. And that's simple.
I love the fact that you guys put in those kind of details. to the movies, which then make you come back to them time and time again. I love her so much because she reminds me of my cousin, who, I mean, almost like picture perfect of how she is to Maribel, what I've seen so far. So, Yvette, Clark, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the insight on the film. I'm so excited to get to see the rest of it.
Great. Thank you,
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel.
It's nice to
I
meet
hope you guys have a good one. It was nice to meet you both.
Bye-bye.